Welcome to the Alcohol-Free Marriage and More podcast, recorded live from the cornfields of Central Illinois. We're all about thriving marriages and living free from alcohol. Welcome to episode 105 for May 5th, 2025.
Well, hello there, childrens. Welcome back to Alcohol-Free Marriage and More podcast. I am Matt, along with the always lovely and curly suing it up, Coach Amy. How are you, my love?
Curly.
You are super duper. It's not even like super duper humid or anything. You're just. Poof.
Well, it is kind of humid out.
It's not that humid.
No, this is me, baby.
That is real curly, real curly.
People want to know where my kid gets his hair.
His curly
my
hair.
boy.
I had a little curl in my hair as a child, but not as curly as yours. No.
I'm pretty sure it's probably.
I have no curl in my hair these days.
Pretty sure it's me.
Pretty sure it's you. But you know what else can be you, kids? If you could like and subscribe to the podcast, if you just stumbled across it for the first time.
Like us.
You can even subscribe on YouTube or
the tubes of
You know, it's more fun to watch on the YouTube, kids, because, you know, you get to see all the coolness.
If you come to us from TikTok, because I'm trying to
go
yes,
Coach Amy on TikTok now.
A little bit. I'm trying.
What's your handle there on TikTok, Amy? Should we just put it in the show notes, because you probably won't remember it right now?
I don't know what it is. I have no idea. Here, I'd have to look it up.
While she looks it up.
I think it's, hold on, let me look
While she looks that up, why don't you guys go down to the show notes and don't forget about our guide to starting your AF journey. That'd be Beyond Spirits, 7 tips to start your AF journey, as well as our weekly marriage guide that we use every week. And she found her handle.
It's just Joy on the Other Side.
There you go. Joy on the Other Side on the TikToks.
At Joy on the Other Side. I probably thought I was going to put Joy on the Other Side of alcohol and then just didn't. And now it's out there, and I'm going to be doing some stuff where we're going to be just kind of rebranding me to
change it up a little bit.
Just to Amy Edwards coaching.
I'd like to point out that she is a sober lifestyle coach, and this is a sober marriage coach podcast. We are not social media gurus. So
no,
we're not here for your social media tips.
We're not. But I mean, I like to be out on the social.
If you have any social media tips, we'd love to hear them, but we don't have any.
If you'd like to coach us or on social media.
We could probably use a lot of help.
We could use it. I mean, I get out there. I try to get out there daily. Today's is going to be a little bit of a rant.
I know.
But that's okay. I haven't put that out there yet.
Put that out there yet? I don't know.
Why? Because you got to time it. You got to time it when you're going to put it out there.
Your post today, though, taught us something, that alcohol does not have an ingredients label. Even NA beers have an ingredients label. I knew
it didn't have an ingredients label. I just double checked.
So like NA beer will have an ingredients label.
Yeah. So anyways, I'll be coming at you later. Go out to Joy on the Other Side of Alcohol on Instagram. You can find me at Joy on the Other Side, out or under Amy Edwards, out on social media. You can go and like my business page. Go out there, find me. Find me.
We'll probably try and put a link down there. Might make it a lot easier for them to find you.
Yeah, put a link in there.
I'm not just going to send them on I'm not going to send them on a treasure hunt.
Do you put the links out there?
There are links to the webpage. I don't think there's your social links, so I could probably do that.
Probably need to add those. So you know what? Again, this is why we need help.
As they used to say on the 411.
The 411.
Please make a note of it.
The 411, not the 911, the 411 today.
But speaking of numbers, today is Cinco de Mayo.
Yes, this used to be a high holiday for us.
Not really. We drank the same every day, but we just drank.
No, we drank more.
Margarita. So I have a picture of our margarita party of one time with like stacks of margarita and Corona. And we probably celebrated Cinco de Mayo. Well, celebrated with big air quotes. Drank more on Cinco de Mayo than we did on St. Patrick's Day. I think this was more of a drinking day.
Oh, much more. Mm-hmm. We were
more about tequila and beer than we are about St. Patrick's Day. But the beers of the day are thematically applied. Amy, let's do yours first.
Mine is from Best Day Brewing.
Which
it's
is
the Electro Lime. What is it? A Circa de Cerveza.
Yes.
Is that right? Did I do that right? Did I read that? Is that right?
Electrolux. Yeah, Circa de Cerveza. I don't know what circa means. Something of the beer. But
okay, it's crafted with sea salt and lime, of course.
I would put it in the.
Of course. If there is sea salt and lime, it is going to be a favorite
of yours.
It's really good.
It is very good. I would put it in the same realm as the what do they call the one from Go Brewing, the Chelada.
Yeah, this is
salt and lime.
I really like this. I almost need to put this down, go downstairs and put the salt around the rim of a beer glass and then drink it.
That's a lot of salt. Check your sodium content, kids. Mine is from Athletic Brewing. It's the Mexican style copper, which I guess because of the one from Go and the one from Best Day here, I thought would be kind of salt lime deal. It is definitely not. It is good. It is nothing like the other. The salt. It has no salt lime vibe to it.
It's a Mexican style copper.
Yes. So it must taste whatever that should taste like. I don't know. I don't know personally what that should taste like, but I'm sure Athletic knows their stuff, so I'm not worried about it being authentic. It's good. It's just very different. When you're expecting salt and lime and you get that, it's a little shocking. So if you do pick it up,
it's good.
It's more like a traditional beer, but I do enjoy it. Yeah. And the nice thing is, we're doing this in the afternoon, but it doesn't matter because
doesn't matter.
Cinco de Mayo all day, and when you're NA beer kids. So yes, check those out. And if you want a third option, the salt and lime from Go Brewing is very good, and you can get a discount using our link below. $5 off first order.
This is good.
Salt and lime. She's all about the
salt and lime, people. Salt and lime.
Well, you know what I'm about, Coach Amy? I'm about
I don't know
Kristin and our interview, which we teased last week.
So good.
Yes.
So good. Thank you again, Kristin, for coming on. She was super excited. Great
She's just
story.
a little lighter sunshine.
Yes. So we're just going to go ahead and we'll introduce her. Kristin Horstman is a certified gray area drinking master coach. She's a health coach, a speaker, a blogger, a ZeroProof Experiences facilitator. She's also a family support advocate dedicated to helping individuals and families navigate challenges related to alcohol use and anxiety. Since beginning her own sobriety journey in January of 2021, which is kind of fun.
Right.
That's when
I
started.
Yes. Yep. We're buddies.
Kristin has empowered others to overcome obstacles and create healthier and a more fulfilling life. Guided by her mantra, for years I drank alcohol in the gray area, but my forever decision to stop is very black and white. Her coaching focuses on building self-regulation techniques to heal and nourish the nervous system, helping clients regain balance, resilience, and clarity in their lives. So let's go to the interview. Kristin, welcome to the Alcohol Free Marriage and More podcast. So excited to have you here with us today. And I don't know if we've officially introduced you to Matt. Matt here is my...
I'm just a producer guy over here in the corner.
He's Mr. Producer, but... and you're the co-host.
I know.
You make it happen, baby.
Hence the producer title. But Kristin is here finally after a little time zone challenges.
Yes.
But we figured it out.
Yeah.
And we're so excited. And I'm just going to jump in here just because of your trademark. Sunsets are the new happy hour. And this is happy hour time for us. So cheers.
Cheers.
And,
I just have water right now, but
hey, you know what? Most of the time it is water for me too.
Yeah.
But tell our audience where you're coming to us from, and just tell us just a little bit about yourself, what you're doing, and then we'll jump into your story.
Yeah. Okay. Coming to you from Scottsdale, Arizona. My husband and I moved here 21 years ago from Long Island, New York. Well, we're both from Long Island, and born and raised me. And he grew up there as well. But when he was a kid, he moved around a little bit, and he actually went to high school in Arizona. And then when we met, he was a high school senior and I was a sophomore, and he went back to New York for Christmas. And we met, and that's a really cool story. But and now that was over 27 years ago that we met and fell in love at first sight. And and then we eventually he moved back to New York for a couple of years, and then he started college. I finished high school, and then when I graduated, we both really wanted to go away to go somewhere else, and we settled on Michigan State University, and we loved it. I loved Michigan State. It was a wonderful place to go to college. And then as soon as we graduated, we thought, okay, now what? And he's like, well, I've lived in a lot of different places, and Arizona is really beautiful, affordable. Obviously, the weather's nice, minus the hotter months. But And I was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's go for it. And yeah, so we officially moved here back then, 21 years ago.
Just kind of worked your way across the
Wow.
country.
I love that.
Yeah, I know. Like next stop, Hawaii, maybe.
That's awesome. Oh, well, you know what? Let's just kind of jump into your story. I know that, you're a gray area drinking coach and a health coach as well, but
Yeah.
why don't we just jump into that whole area of gray area?
Yeah.
Because that's what I was, and that's what Matt was too.
I'm
So
going to bet it started in Michigan State, didn't it?
Oh yeah. Yes. Yeah, exactly. Cause I didn't drink in high school really, like maybe once or twice. It just wasn't, it wasn't of interest to me at all. But yeah, when I went to college, it was like, oh, okay, I'm in college now. And this is what college kids do, And so I basically drank in the gray area for 20 years. Although I would argue that maybe out of the 20 years that I drank, I actually did get out of this, what we call the gray area. And I can explain what that is. And I went into what I call the danger zone because I had some very scary years there, especially, those last few years, where I really just truly couldn't stop. And the cravings were overwhelming and it was hard to get through an hour a day, during those years. So a gray area drinker does have the capacity and ability to stop, to take breaks, to take these maybe a 30-day dry January challenge or a 30-day Whole 30 challenge where they're focusing on their diet, or maybe they want to train for a marathon. So they're going to take a whole 3 or 4 months off or something like that. Some people take off for Lent. I've had clients take the 40 days off for Lent every year. So gray area drinkers will stop, but then they always gravitate back to it. And we've got the gray area drinking spectrum. So it really started with a dietetics study in 2010. And so they were researchers looking at people's calories to look at optimal health and disease prevention. And then when they had all this data at the end of the year, they looked at they included the alcohol calories with the food calories, right? Because they should count. And they were like, wow, drinking really is a spectrum. It's not this black and white, way of looking at it, which is, truly outdated, at this point. So they realized that, if once you start drinking, because there's no safe amount, you're on the spectrum and it can hurt your health. So we've got a gray area drinker is between these two extremes. One extreme is a now and again drinker. And the technical definition is 2 or fewer drinks per week. So that's, less than 8 drinks a month. But really a now and again drinker to me is somebody who really, it really is a now and again thing. It's not top of mind. They're not sitting there going, okay, it's time to have my 2 for the week, and they're creating rules around, when they can have those 2. And when I say drinks, I mean servings,
Mm-hmm.
Right. Right. Important point there. But yeah, it's maybe, they could go on an entire month, not even think about it. And then maybe they go to a wedding and they toast the groom and bride, and then maybe another few months go by. That to me, that's really what a now and again drinker is. And then the other end, that other extreme is that end stage drinker that needs the medical intervention, that cannot stop, that is looking at things like cirrhosis or organ failure. So it's those are actually the smaller pieces of the population in terms of drinkers. Mm-hmm. It's really 90%, millions of people are in this gray area. And we can say it's gray area because there is no safe amount.
Mm-hmm.
So where were you falling in this range? Were you, if you weren't taking a break, were you sort of that couple of glasses of wine every night kind of thing, or where were you?
Yeah, I mean, it really varied over the years. There were years I've always been really into fitness and running and moving my body and, everything from yoga to, different things that involve movement. So sometimes there were years in my, adult life where I was really focused on my running. And so drinking wasn't really a big part of the forefront, but it was always there. So it really would just depend. I definitely was a binge drinker on the weekends. That was pretty much almost guaranteed for almost my whole adult life of those years, where like Friday, Saturday, it's on, and then Sunday brunch, there. So there you go. Like over those weekends, like it would be multiple drinks and there would be a lot of blackouts and a lot of gnarly hangovers. But then, over the years, I would find reasons to drink during the week too. It's like, oh, we've got bunko on a Tuesday. Cool. Or happy hour after work. Or maybe I'm cooking dinner and I just want a glass of wine or two. So that was a lot of gray area drinking. But really fast forward so if I started drinking around the year 2000, I kind of went up and down the spectrum for a long time where it was like, maybe a little bit more heavier, and then I would rein it in, and then I would just kind of go back and forth, but it's still in the gray area. But in 2017, my drinking really started to escalate, and I was just drinking more and more and way more frequently. But it wasn't really until early 2018 that the kind of proverbial, hit the fan, because in early 2018, there was an evening. So actually, well, in the middle of 2017, I was diagnosed with gastritis. I was having really severe stomach problems, and I was like, I have no idea why, And
I know, over here. I have an answer.
yeah. And, so I got an endoscopy and he diagnosed me with gastritis. And I don't even think we really talked about alcohol, which, I mean, maybe on the forum, it was kind of like that. It's typical. How many drinks do you have per week? Which, I totally fudged. And I know a lot of people do. You downplay the heck out of that. But yeah, so it was like, oh, okay. But yeah, so for like many months, I was having like many stomach problems, kind of would feel nauseous and just like really having trouble eating. But then it was like really in February of 2018, there was a night that was just kind of the night from hell where I was on the toilet all night throwing up bile. Like and I couldn't get off. I was attached to it. If I God forbid I tried to leave, it was like, if I went a foot from the toilet, it was like, nope. And it was one of the most miserable nights of my whole life. And, my husband was just terrified. I mean, the signs were there, obviously like the escalation was visible, I think, to the people closest around me. But not to me, like, I was living in the land of denial. And then after that, it was a struggle for 3 more years. I didn't stop until my last day one was January 1st, 2021, actually.
Okay.
So yeah, it was a lot of misery. So, but definitely, 2018, I mean, in 2018, like after that incident, and then I did some labs and my liver enzymes were through the roof. And that was really scary. That really was very scary. So then I was like, okay, well, I can stop drinking. And I forced myself to take a few weeks off. I mean, I white knuckled that, but mentally I wasn't there. And I was just kind of like, all right, I'll just do this is like temporary. I'll just take a few weeks off and then I'll be fine. And so then it was kind of an up and down year, 2018, but it was definitely problematic. And then in 2019, it just continued to escalate. And truly, like getting through a day was really hard. The depression, the anxiety, and so obviously the drinking was one component of that. But there were some major life things that kept happening. It was like overwhelm. So it was like just this perfect storm. And then also leading up to that too, kind of that year when in 2017, when I said it really escalated, a lot of that too was like some friends groups that we were starting to align ourselves with, that we were making new friends, and they happened to, be heavy drinkers. And so then it became, more, it wasn't just the weekend where I would be binging. It would be a lot more during the week too. And so it just all started to add up. So it's like, you got the social aspect, you've got, life, a lot of like crazy things were happening starting in 2017 and just kind of were escalating. And the overwhelm in my physical body was was escalating. And then, so really those years were really, really hard. And then at the end of 2019, actually, my husband had a good idea. He suggested that we get a puppy. He actually researched and found a dog, and he was looking for an actual emotional support animal. He didn't quite find that, but he did find a place that trains the puppies before you get it to at least kind of like do a lot of the basic commands. And he was like, all right, close enough. And it was these beautiful little white golden retriever puppies. And he showed me this picture, and I'm like, okay, And like, wow, yeah, like, okay. And it even just the notion of like getting her, like just thinking about that, like there was like a bit of a spark, like a really positive spark that started to happen in me. And then we decided to, we wanted to wait for her to be 6 months old. So then fast forward to January of 2020, and that's when we physically got her in our home.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
Yeah. So
want
she's a big
another
part of my
puppy.
journey.
No, we don't need another
No,
puppy.
we've got one laying right down here, a dog,
fine.
and
She's
she's
fine.
good.
Aw.
But I love that. And so you had some purpose, I guess, with having
Yeah.
that your new puppy coming into your life and everything.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. She did. She kind of took me out of my head and I could have something to focus on. And yeah, I was definitely kind of lost around those years too. I didn't really have a purpose. I threw myself into some charity organizations and volunteering and things like that, but it wasn't, but it was like I kept putting all my efforts into other people's dreams and, what they
Mm,
wanted to accomplish in the world. And but I was like, well, what does Kristin want to do? And but like, yeah, at least when we got the dog, it was like getting her was just really like you could just feel it in my body. You could see my face. Like the day I'm hugging her, the day she came home, January 7th, 2020, you could see like this smile that hadn't been there in a really long time. And it's like you could just like you could look at that picture and go like, okay, her life's changing, for the better at this point. And also in January of 2020, I finally found a great therapist. It was actually like a team of therapists. Like I found this place nearby, and it was like there was like five of them, like a boss, and then like five therapists, and they were teach. So I had like one-on-one therapist, and then I had like a couples therapist. So that was good because just so much there was so much turmoil between my husband and me. Just there were a lot of things going on. Even though we've had an amazing relationship all these years, it was really helpful to do that, to have some couples sessions. And then also I got to work on myself with the one-on-one. And then they also had classes on DBT, dialectical behavior therapy. So it was great because I was starting to really that stuff. Those modalities were really starting to resonate with me, really starting to change the needle. And then when shutdown happened, it was great because like I already had the dog, I already had the therapist lined up. And then when shutdown happened, then that helped the FOMO piece.
Yeah, there was nothing to miss out on.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
Exactly. Because that was really holding me back before the pandemic, because I was, like I said, like all my friends were drinkers, and I grew up, in a family of drinkers, and it was normalized, and I didn't want to feel left out. And I mean, I hosted a lot of the parties. I was like, the one in charge of the wine tastings and all these things. And we built a bar in our house, and we would constantly have people come over and find way, party, small, big parties, whatever. And so to all of a sudden be told like, oh, you have to sit in the corner and drink iced tea like some loser. I'm like, what? I'm like, that's not okay. So I just couldn't imagine my life without alcohol at that point.
And so was in 2020, did you start to cut back on your drinking? Was
Yeah.
that kind of that process for you? Can you
Yes.
talk about that?
Yeah. Yeah. So 2020, I made huge strides. So like out of all of those years that I struggled, those last 3 years, that was my best year, hands down, because, a lot of the temptation was taken away, because sometimes like I would go out with my friends, my drinking friends, and I would sit there, drinking the iced tea, kind of like hating life, and watch them, throw back wine like it's no big deal. And then I would kind of run to the bar and sneak some alcohol, and then it was always a disaster. And so I kept relapsing. And then sometimes they wouldn't invite me out because they thought maybe that's the kinder option, is to not invite her out anymore. But then I would sit at home and really feel like a loser. And then I'd get to see their beautiful pictures on Facebook and just get so down on myself. So yeah. So then when shutdown happened, I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. You're telling me I get to stay home with my puppy and my loving husband, and no one's going out? Like, oh my God, this is amazing. So it was really helpful. I mean, I still got tripped up in 2020. There were still instances where I went back to drinking, but it truly was the most successful years. Like I was actually stringing together days or weeks or even a couple of months before a slip. And then if I did slip, the rebound, I could rebound quicker, whereas the years prior, it was, I'd just be dragging myself through the mud, and it was really hard to, stop again.
So at what point did your husband come along on this journey with you? Since you'd built a bar in your basement in your house,
Yeah, I know, exactly. So he drank a little in college, kind of like some typical college drinking, but nothing really like outrageous. And then when we moved to Arizona, pretty quickly, him and his brother had started a business, and he was very dedicated to that business. He worked extremely long hours. So as a result, he's like, I don't even have time to like sleep, have a social life. He's like, I don't want to drink. Like, and he wasn't that interested in it. He didn't grow up around it. So it wasn't a big deal. Alcohol was really never a big deal. And so, so then from like his mid-20s to his mid-30s, he didn't even, it wasn't on his radar. He drank like a handful of times in that whole decade, so it just wasn't at the forefront. But then in his mid-30s, he sold it, and then all of a sudden he has some free time, and then he went on this kind of personal journey and to find long lost family and all this, and then he's got the free time, and then he's finding all these new friends who are heavy drinkers, and then now we're both drinking, and so he did start to drink those last when my drinking escalated. That's actually when he was drinking pretty regularly, like he was drinking for sure in the gray area. And then, but when he saw me, my health deteriorate, and when he saw what it was doing to me, it was really easy for him to walk away. And because he's like, this poison is like literally killing my wife. It's destroying our marriage. It's destroying our life. But it's killing her. And so he just looks at it like it's just poison. And and what's nice, I'm so grateful that he never ever had to experience that level of craving that I've had to experience. Like I can't think of a more painful experience in my whole life than cravings, and cravings that were persistent. And it was kind of like a truly an out of body experience. I like logically, I'd be like in the closet, sneaking alcohol, like trying to drink, and like, oh yeah, I'm so smart. Like he won't know I'm drinking, like in this closet, but I would get these terrible like stomach aches because like my logical brain was like, what the hell are you doing? But I had to soothe that animal brain. That of course I couldn't put words on to that because I had no clue about the science of alcohol back then. I just knew that I just needed to feel better, and alcohol made me feel better, and I didn't want to stop.
Yeah, that's your story, especially like, practically I'm sitting there dying on the toilet, but yet I'm still going to go drink. Like that just speaks to the power of the alcohol. And I had stomach issues for decades.
Yeah.
And always said I had IBS, and I can't drink coffee. I can't do these things. Even though in my mind I was kind of like, alcohol, or I'd switch up. Well, I really can't do beer. I need to do gin, or gin causes these problems. I need to go back to whatever. All this crap.
Yeah.
But the same thing in the back of your brain, the logical part of your head is going, why am I doing this? Is probably causing this isn't good. But then like you got to calm the monkey down somehow. And so I've told the story before. I was putting I would have this is an NA beer right here. I'd have an NA beer and I would pour vodka in it. So Amy would think I was drinking an NA beer, but it was actually had vodka in it. I'm like, if that's not the sign of a problem, I don't know what is, right? Like, come on now. Like that's not normal drinking, right? It's not take it or leave it drinking. If you're in your closet drinking anything, like that's not a good sign.
And I like how I think Kristin and you're a coach and I'm a coach, and I so hear your story of like it geared up and then I started cutting back, and then I would be okay, and then I would go back, and then it's like this starting over. And I just want people to hear this and be encouraged. That I think one of the things in my training, when I learned that it takes sometimes 7 to 11 plus times to finally get there where you're like, okay, I've tried, I've made these honest attempts, and now it's happening. And so many people think, well, alcohol, you have to quit it perfectly. And that's such a lie that we, like our society has told us. It's told us all drink, drink, drink. It's fun. It's great. It's all this. Oh, now you drink too much. Now you have a problem. Now you need to quit right now. Perfectly.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
crazy.
Right.
It's
Oh my
so
gosh.
frustrating because I think the other thing is we feel like I just recorded something this morning. I haven't even put it out, but it's so frustrating when you have somebody who has been trying to quit and then they have like a side, they drink, whatever, and then they feel bad about that. But they also feel bad because they were a failure at drinking because everybody else could drink.
Seemingly.
Right.
Well, in our head, everybody else had it figured out and could do it and could use the drug successfully.
Right.
And it's not true. There's so many people who I think just are like, oh, well, you know what? I can't quit. Well, that was me. Somebody did. I love people. Oh, I'm doing dry January. Oh, I could never do that. I remember like saying that. That's great. Wow, I really wish I could do that. But I couldn't.
Right.
I tried Lent. I couldn't do that. I
would have never tried Lent. That's way too long.
Oh my gosh. So
you quit drinking. I have a quick question before I get to my question.
Yeah.
Did you tear apart the bar? Or you still have the bar?
Oh, we sold that house. But before, yeah, we did. But before we sold it, we converted. We changed the whole dynamic of it to a coffee bar.
Nice.
Yeah.
See? You don't have to get rid of these things. Just repurpose.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that. Okay,
yeah,
so
we totally reframed it.
Cool. So you got your puppy. You quit drinking. Your husband's not drinking. You're not in the closet. You're not on the toilet. Life's good. How do you get into this coaching life?
Yeah. Okay. That's a great story. So at the end, in the end of 2020, I decided to leave this one organization that I had been just putting so much time and energy and effort into. And I realized I was like, okay, you know what? I think I'm done here. And I think I need to move on. But it was really terrifying to do that because I had made it kind of my identity for 5 years. And I was like, oh God, like, what am I going to tell people I do with myself if I don't do that thing? But luckily, like, I decided to quit in November of 2020. And then before I joined that organization, I've always really loved like health and wellness. I've always treated it like a hobby. And, around like 2011, I started to really get into like cooking and taking cooking classes, like healthy cooking classes. And I was always like consuming articles around health and wellness. And, I started to learn about processed foods and all that stuff way back when. And, and then I even started to do some cooking demos, like I think around like 2015, like around the Valley, like people who owned like yoga stores who were my friends or running stores would be like, hey, Kristin, like come in and teach like, how to make your salads and your soups and your salad dressings that you like to make and whatever. And so it's like I started to get a taste of like teaching in front of people, like how to cook and all this stuff. But then I totally put it aside. And then I thought, okay, all of a sudden it's like I left that organization. And then all of a sudden I thought, what does Kristin really want to do? So I had been following IIN, the Institute for Integrative Nutrition Health Coaching School, for years. And I decided to hop on their website. And I didn't even really truly understand what health coaching was in particular, but the curriculum I was like obsessed with. I'm seeing that they have lectures by Dr. Weil. I actually met Dr. Weil because he helped to create the True Food menu, and True Food is all over Phoenix, and that's one of our favorite restaurants. So I actually got to meet him one time at a True Food. So I was like, wow. So I started to get kind of excited. I kind of casually mentioned it to my husband, Evan, and he's like, well, you enrolled, right? And I was like, oh, I should enroll? He's like, what are you waiting for? I was like, okay. So I enrolled probably about early December of 2020, but classes were not going to start until about mid to end of January of 21. So now, now all of a sudden, like holidays are coming, Christmas is coming. Right around Christmas, I was really starting to kind of feel down. I think I was going through some things, some family related things, and and then kind of mourning the loss of leaving that one organization. And because I had a really good run of, I think, like August through kind of November, I'm pretty sure I didn't drink during those months, or if I did, it was almost barely anything. I really accomplished a lot of good time for all those months. So I was like, oh, well, you know what? it wasn't that bad. So I can drink again. It's fine. It's fine. So I started to buy alcohol, and of course, I am not telling Evan. I was like, "There's no way I'm going to tell him," but also, it's not that bad. Very, it was like creeping up slowly, where he was seeing the shift right around Christmas week, and of course, I was denying it. Um, and then and then I kept telling myself, "Oh, it's fine, it's fine." But I have to say, like, I like reflecting back, like the cravings. I mean, they were there. It's not like they stopped in those months that the kind of the August to the fall. But all of a sudden, like now that I was like actively like really putting it in my body, it like I would wake up and be like, okay, I need alcohol. Like how quick can I? It was that bad again. Um, but I was kind of keeping the reins on it. But then fast forward to January 1st, 2021. We were at home, and I had alcohol in the house, unbeknownst to Evan, and I decided to drink. I'm pretty sure I drank on an empty stomach, and I passed out on a chair on our back patio in broad daylight. And all I remember is like Evan is like shaking me, waking me up, and I kind of like come to, and I'm like, whoa, what happened? And he's like, yeah, what happened? And I'm like, and I thought, oh my God, okay, yeah, we're done here, because I realized time wasn't the answer. Like accumulating, let's say, several months in a row, didn't change anything. I mean, it was like 0 to 100 pretty much right away. So as the alcohol was leaving my body that night, I was like, I'm done. I'm officially done. And then the next day, I had luckily, and again, I have to thank Evan, because right around that, at the end of 2019, when he brought up the dog and everything, he found Annie Grace's book. And then that kind of opened the floodgates, because when I started reading her book, I was like, oh, ooh, like this is interesting. Like, because I had tried a few AA meetings that was not resonating with me. I would try to go to some meetings and I would actually feel worse after. So, and nothing against AA. It wasn't working for me. But then when I'm reading Annie Grace's book, and she's talking about the neuroscience, and it really took a lot of the shame out. And then I started to find like all these sober influencers on Instagram, but those were kind of the earlier days. Then I somehow found Jolene Park, and then I found Laura McCowan and some other people. And I was like, okay, I had actually taken a class by Laura McCowan. I had read her book, became a big fan, and I took her bigger guest class in the fall, which is probably one of the big things that helped me not drink, during those months. And so I thought, okay, so the next day I'm on the computer and I'm like, okay, either Annie Grace or Laura McCowan or Jolene Park, they're going to help me. One of these three women, or maybe there's something else out there, but I'm going to start with these three and go from there. I'm like, they're going to help me. It's happening. And there was something about Jolene's website. Like I had watched her TED Talk, a year prior, and then started following her. And then on her website, she was very specific, talking about cravings, anxiety, rewiring your stress response, and talking about the missing physiological pieces to heal the cravings in the brain. And I was like, oh my God, that's it. That's what it is. And then she has, I do free discovery calls, and, we can talk about coaching to see if it's a good fit for you. So I booked one right away. And I think by January 5th, we were on a discovery call, and I knew within a few minutes, I'm like, oh, this woman's going to change my life.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do. I really do. And I think it's super cool because Matt's you started January 1st of 2021.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. So,
cool.
Because he followed me 9 months later, because going into the pandemic. So I completely like taking away all like of the distractions. It was like, oh, we don't have to go here. Okay, let's go for a walk. Let's go do this. And I have to say that was so, I don't know. It was, it's
most people went one of two ways. Either backed off or you went hard.
Yeah, you
Right.
either backed off it. And
Totally.
I just was like, I just went going in, my story was, if you keep going, you're going to die. I mean, that was what my brain was telling me. And yeah, so I love the fact that you kind of took solace as well in that time. And I love how you said, like, because This Naked Mind, Annie Grace's, that book, that book changed my life. Reading that,
Totally.
and just like you said, taking all of the shame out of this,
Yep.
because we were, I mean, I think you probably had similar, like I got really angry. I got really mad about how I had been sold the biggest lie. And I just was like, and then it was just like, I was all in. I was like, okay, you lied to me.
Yeah.
You like specifically went
Oh,
after me. And I was like, I'm out.
yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah. Totally. Oh, yeah. Very angry for sure. Yes.
like,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's poison. I like how, it's toxin. Like I
Yeah.
think what's so great is like your husband, like, this is killing my wife. I don't want to have part of this
Yeah.
anymore. And so I think that is because there's so many people don't do that. They're like, oh, well, that's their problem. I can still drink. And
Yeah.
that's, I mean, I just feel so blessed that even though you were hiding your part from me, you were so supportive. Like you were there, like, oh, nope. Because
Um,
that depression and anxiety
I
piece,
was over there supporting you with my bottle of vodka. I'm supportive.
your gin.
I was hiding my supportiveness.
Oh my gosh. Well, I love that. I love how you are now.
yeah.
Let me go in here. I'm going to open up I just want to read because I was on your website, and people can find you at Kristin Horstman, and we'll put the link and everything, but sunsets are the new happy hour. I absolutely love that.
Yep.
It's
To my neck. Yeah.
it's absolutely beautiful that you have changed all of this around and you're helping people. Tell us about Zero Proof, that you're a Zero Proof facilitator, because we've got we know some
Yeah.
mutual people as well. Susie, who was on the
Yes.
podcast,
Yep. Yep.
so you're working in her group.
Yes. Yes.
So I
Oh my
love that.
gosh. Yes, it's so neat because I first heard her on a podcast in January of 2023, and she's talking about these amazing events that she calls Sober in the City. And I was like, "Oh, that sounds really interesting." So I sent her a little DM on Instagram, and we started chatting it up. And then I happened to be a few months later, I was going to be driving through like her area, and I said, just so you know, like I'm going to be in your area. Would you like to meet for lunch? And we met for lunch, and we had like a 3-hour lunch. And if we didn't have somewhere to go, like it probably would have been a 10-hour lunch. Like like we couldn't stop talking. It was amazing. And it was cool because like my husband was with me, and I love that he was meeting my, this woman with me. And it's been really nice to bring him into my world and to have him meet my new friends in person, because so that was really special too. And so then my first opportunity to attend a Sober in the City event, fast forward then to September of 2023, I went to Portland, Maine, and I had so much fun. And Susie and Peggy, of course, her buddy, her co-founder, they were like, oh yeah, why don't you have a table? Like you're a coach, so have a table and show off your business and everything. And I was like, whoa. So that was the first time I ever made merch for my business. I'd been a coach for like a year and a half, but I didn't have a reason to make t-shirts or postcards or pens or, a fancy newsletter or sign up sheet. And they gave me an opportunity to lead it was short, but it was like beautiful and amazing. It was a sunset meditation. And it was during the Saturday night event, which is, for anybody if you don't know Sober in the City, they're like these Thursday through Sunday, all weekend events. They have all these things lined up. Saturday night is always like the big night out. It's always like the big fancy dinner, the big fancy mocktails, and you dress up and there's dancing and all those, and a speaker and all those good things. So I got to kick off that night, and it was a gorgeous night in Maine. And it was just in September, and it was fabulous. And I led everybody through the sunset meditation, and we did a grounding, exercise with it. And it was amazing. And then, and now every Sober in the City, I tend to have some kind of role. Like I'm usually teaching a workshop related to the nervous system and, all that. And then they started their online membership. So they call it ZPE Connect, and they meet twice a week. And their whole concept is we're alcohol free now. What? So it's not like sobriety support in the sense of like a luckiest club, right? But I mean, everybody in there, and you could be anywhere. You could be, alcohol free for years. You could be a newbie. You could be sober curious. But really, the concepts are kind of like pushing us forward in life. It's a lot of like personal growth kinds of conversations, or we want to learn about trends in the non-alcoholic, beverage space, for example. And so for after their year anniversary, they were like, so, fast forward now to January of 2025, they decided that they wanted to invite some new facilitators to come in. And I'm one of the facilitators.
Congratulations.
Nice.
I love it.
Absolutely so fun. And guess what my first topic was that I chose? Sunsets of the new happy hour.
I love it.
So is that why they had you do sunset meditation too? Is because sunsets are the new happy hour? Is that why you did the sunset meditation?
Yeah. When I talked to them about, hey, is there anything I can do? Like, I know you kind of have a full schedule, and I think it just kind of it worked out like that. So basically, so for me, first of all, look at my necklace. I got
nice.
Pretty.
My earrings. So my whole sunset journey, I noticed like that first year, in particular, the first year of not drinking, the first year of working with Jolene, I was really gravitating towards sunsets. I mean, who doesn't love a sunset, right? And I've always, enjoyed sunsets, but there was something about that year in particular, that very first year of not drinking, where I was truly just drawn to them. And I started to realize, night after night of, looking at all the colors and looking how the sky could be so different, from night to night, and then even from minute to minute, right? Some sunsets can last like an hour to 2 hours. Some are only 5 minutes where, you see the sky change. Like every night is different. And I was starting to realize, like, wait a minute, this is my happy hour. This is what I'm doing now, right? Instead of drinking. And then through my work with Jolene, through, becoming eventually a coach with her, there's actual science behind, that sunset time and what it's doing for our nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
So so then to find out that, I'm a science nerd. So I'm like, oh my God, there's like science behind this too. Wow.
And the next sober in the city is almost practically in your backyard, right?
Yeah, it is in the backyard.
Yeah,
right?
It's next. Yeah, exactly. Yep, it sure is. Yep, it's in May of May 16th weekend, and it's in Scottsdale. And I will be co-leading a workshop on the nervous system with Susan Larkin, who I know you know.
I love it. Yeah. She was on the podcast when we first started.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's kind of crazy. Cool. I'll have to put a link in there.
She's an OG guest.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy how this all works out. And now that you've moved forward and you're living this vibrant alcohol-free life, do you find that you are connected with more people who are living alcohol-free locally with you as well? Because I think that's something that people struggle with, is like all my friends, everybody I know drinks.
Right.
And I think that's a huge challenge for a lot of people.
Yeah, I've been like finding people who don't drink. It's really kind of neat. There's like some synchronicity there. It's like I'm attracting these kinds of people. And it's nice. There's a couple of ladies around here that host mocktail events, and that's like their business. And like Dry in the Desert, and a couple others like that, the Nixer. And so, it's like once you start, meeting one person, it tends to really open up, or I find people where maybe they drink, but they're kind of really one of those now and again people. So when they're with me, they're not going to drink because they're like, they barely drink as it is, and so why would they drink around me? And I've inspired a lot of people. So there have been people that I've met in the 4.5 years that I stopped drinking that, maybe when I met them, they were drinking, but then as they got to know me and, see me and spend more time with me, they just kind of naturally stopped, or they're asking me for help too in some cases, or guidance or things like that. And that's really exciting, and I'm not preachy about it. Like I'm very, I work really hard at that. I don't want to be judgy. I don't want to be preachy. I don't want to be the anti-alcohol police. I mean, that would be a cool job, but you know, it's, you know,
Get your
but like,
whistle.
yeah, yeah.
We'll work
But
on that.
like wagging the finger at people is never going to work because
No,
it certainly didn't work for me. Right.
no.
Right.
I'm like, I just want to like show people and be just my natural self, alcohol free, and like let people come to me. And I love teaching about this stuff, especially like my social media. So it's like, you know, if you don't want to hear, you know, the things I have to say, that's okay. It's just either don't friend me or mute me or whatever, but this is what I'm putting out. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Scroll on,
And
baby.
scroll on, baby. Yeah. I won't get offended. I promise, you know,
No,
but
we find that too. The
really
more you talk, you know,
amazing.
if you're not ashamed to talk about it, then people know and like, oh, and then they get curious, right? They become sober curious and
Yeah.
Yeah.
and they get into it. Okay, so you're this big time presenter at these events. What is your go-to NA drink when you're at these functions or just on a regular sunset Saturday
Ooh.
night?
Yeah. I really love club soda, or, you know, sparkling waters.
Right.
That's the big go-to. I like fizz. I like carbonation. I love NA beers too. I like giving it a good old athletic brew. I haven't tried Bureau yet. I'm excited. I
Yes.
want to try it.
Local Target. Check
Yeah.
out Target has it in stock. Yeah.
Cool. I know my local Sprouts. I've seen it. I'm like, ooh. I've actually been drinking so much water though recently. Like the last 2 months, I upped my water game. So a little water with like a splash of lime
Oh,
juice.
what
Or a
is
splash.
it with you ladies and this
And
lime in your water?
Lime, little
I've heard you talk
Himalayan
about
salt. Just that's just what I'm
it.
saying. That's what I do.
I quit.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
my final question goes awry, man, that's never happened.
I mean, lime is so, I don't know. I think, part of
Oh.
my problem, like I was a tequila person. I think I'm like, I love the lime. I mean, just people are like, what? You're drinking lime and
Oh, yeah.
salt? I'm like, yeah.
You will not
I
get
go,
scurvy.
Yeah.
I will not
No.
get scurvy.
No. The electrolytes, baby. Yeah.
That's right.
All right,
Oh.
Kristin, one more time. Where can people find your content and all about you?
Yeah. KristinHorstman.com, Coach Kristin Horstman on Instagram. And of course, I have a newsletter, and I send I blog, so you'll get my newsletters and my blogs if you want to sign up for that. And I have on my website, I have lots of great, things for people to check out. I have a whole section that I call events to brighten your life. So, people in the you could be in the alcohol-free space or not. If you host an event that is going to somehow enrich people's lives around health, wellness, friendship, connection, nervous system health, and it just doesn't involve alcohol, like it doesn't have to be a sober event, tell me about it. Let's get it on the site so I can promote your retreat or your yoga event or what have you. So that I love that page. I'm always having like the next Sober in the City event is always listed on there, for example. And then I have a resource page actually for families, because I'm very dedicated to the family piece, because what I've learned, throughout this whole journey is that families really are the biggest untapped resource. And a lot of family members, a lot of the loved ones, like my husband, for example, like he was doing everything in his power, everything he could possibly think of to try to help me and love me and support me and, and be compassionate and be there for me. But he didn't know what he was doing, but he was trying his best. And, but a lot of people want to help their loved one, but they don't know what to do. They don't have the skill set around it. So I have become involved with another organization called CMC Foundation for Change. They've created a evidence-based support group for family members called the Invitation to Change. And that has been also a lovely part of my journey. And I went through their facilitator training as well. And I stay connected with that community. And so you'll find like links to them and their support groups. They're really their support group is more of a learning group with a supportive environment. Because when you go to an Invitation to Change meeting, you're learning a skill. You're learning about, motivational interviewing, so that you can learn open communication skills with your loved one who's struggling, and you're just learning all these other like concepts. You're actually learning how to take care of yourself too, because a lot of the times, obviously, it's so dysregulating and can be so overwhelming when you're watching somebody you love, whether it's your spouse or your parent or your child, go through substance use disorder, it's so painful. And then they start to feel, dysregulated and stressed out. So they start to learn self-compassion, self-awareness, and things like that. So that's a beautiful program. So yeah, if you want one-on-one coaching, come to me. If you have a loved one who's struggling and you're looking for some podcasts or articles to read or books or support groups, come to my page as well.
Wow, I love that.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for being on the
Thank
show.
you.
And,
Thank you for having me.
And we're just, I just feel, I love this space because I love interviewing people and I love making new friends all over, pretty much the world.
Yeah, right. Same. It's so cool.
It's the beauty of where we're at now. So thank you again.
Yeah.
And we'll make sure that we put that in the links and everything in our show notes. And hopefully, people will be in touch. And again, thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Kristin, for being on the Alcohol-Free Marriage and More podcast. Didn't I tell you she's a little ray of sunshine?
I know it. I love it. And I love her other saying, sunsets are the new happy hour. It's just amazing. She's doing great. She's doing great work out there. I love it. I absolutely love the fact that her and I have connected and had some conversations also about part of the coaching training that she went into around gray area drinkers. I'm going to expand my knowledge through that same program as well this summer. So I'm very excited about that.
She's that professional quitter. I'm telling you, we're going to do those t-shirts say, keep quitting. AF Life.
Forever quitters.
Forever quitters? You let us know. Do you want us to keep quitting or forever quitters? Either way, just quit quitting. I don't know. There's a lot of quitting in there. Let's figure it out.
Let's come up with something. I think we could come up with I
think we have something.
We could be quitters. You can be a quitter too.
You too can be a quitter.
Be a quitter with us.
I think there's a whole line of quitting. All right, kids. Well, that's it for us for this week on the Alcohol-Free Marriage and More podcast. I'm Matt, along with Coach Amy, wishing you peace and love from the cornfields. We are out.